In this video, we're going to go over the next piece of data protection, and that is regarding auditing. So what should be audited in a database? Well, first we want to audit logins. We want to make sure that all the logins originate from within our organization or even within a subset of our organization, and that only those who have the proper authorization to log in are indeed logging into the resource. We also want to ensure that users are not sharing passwords and usernames so that only they can have access to the particular resource. Additionally, we want to track database changes so that we can revert back if we need to, if there's an issue with a change that had been made to a database, or so that we can detect when an issue did occur so that we know exactly what data is good and has integrity and which data has been compromised. We also want to flag certain warnings. These could be anomalies that are outside of certain ranges, that if something happens with the database, we can have that output and know exactly how we can treat it if certain things are happening. And then finally, exceptions to the rules that are being made. If those exceptions are being made, how do we handle that? Are we going to allow the exceptions? Why are those exceptions being made? What kind of process are we going through to verify that these exceptions are true? And then we want to log when people are taking advantage of the exceptions themselves, just to make sure that they are not outside the bounds of what we would normally anticipate with regards to a database. So now we're going to do a fun exercise. So go to orman.creighton.edu. Go to the course directory, specifically look under code injection. We're going to open the log spoofing file. Read the page description and do what it says. So the ultimate goal here is to spoof the log so that it shows a successful log entry amidst all the failed log entries that may occur. And then I want you to answer why a hacker would consider using this attack. So pause this video, attempt this exercise on your own, and then come back to compare your answer. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to try to create an additional log entry that says that the user has successfully logged in, even though that's not true. So a hacker might want to do this because maybe they've had several failed attempts and then they want to just kind of spoof the log entry to say that there was a successful login. And so what we're going to do is change this so that we can first show you what happens when we fail to log in, and then we'll try to log in and add information that would indicate that we had a successful login even though we didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the admin, and we're going to just type in a password, hit enter, and we get a message down here that says failed login for user admin. So what we want to do is then give a successful message after this. So I'm going to type in admin, and then I'm going to do /n, which means new line. So it would then display this successful login for user admin below it. So I just copied that and pasted it here. I'm going to try another password and hit enter. And you can see that it has first the failed login and then the successful login, even though this really was not a successful login. So why would a hacker consider this attack? Well, to hide their activity. They may have tried a few attempts and failed, and then they may try to spoof the logs to hide their activity, to make it seem like their attempts were valid so that it wouldn't be detected. Another way of auditing is through the use of triggers. Triggers are basically code that runs automatically when database changes are made. So here's a few examples of where a trigger might execute. In the event that a table is created, in the event that a table is dropped, in the event that a table is altered, these are all part of the data definition language. The trigger might also be executed in the event that we insert a new record into a table, in the event that we update records in the table, or in the event that we delete records from the table. This is part of the data manipulation language. So with regard to triggers, we can have it take any of these events and store something in maybe like a log table indicating that these events have taken place, so that we have a history of what has happened. Take, for example, the SQL Server trigger. So essentially what's happening here is a trigger called employee salary change, and it's going to check for any updates to the employee table. If there is an update, it's going to grab the old salary from the table, and it's going to grab the new salary from what was just inserted. And then it's going to create a message that's going to say the first name, last name, salary was changed from old salary to new salary. Then it's going to execute a command that is going to send an email to billybluejay@creighton.edu with a subject indicating that a salary has been changed with the message that we've created up here. Now this is an example of a trigger executing to indicate to a specific person that a salary has changed. So if a salary has been changed and it shouldn't be changed, we will get a notification that the salary change has occurred. Triggers can also be a problem if we don't have proper protections against SQL injections. So we're going to do another exercise of SQL injection. We're going to go to the course server. We're going to dive into the course directory. We'll go to SQL injection, specifically the backdoor page. So what I want you to do is read the page description and do what it says. And then your goal is to insert a backdoor into the database. With this backdoor, don't worry so much about creating code inside of the trigger that will run. All you need to do is just create the start of a trigger to see if you can get this to work. So go ahead, pause this video and try this on your own, and then come back to compare your answer. Alright, welcome back. So here what we're going to do is try to inject into our server code that would be able to create a trigger that could do anything that I want it to do with that specific table. So typically someone would come in here and type in a user ID, such as 101, hit submit, and they would see the user's information. So what we're going to do is take advantage of the stacked SQL injection. So I'll go ahead and type in 101, put a semicolon, and then what we'll do is create a trigger, and this we'll call compromised, and then this will be a trigger that we'll create on the security user table. So before insert on security user, and then we'd have for each row, and then we'd have our begin code, we'd then have our end code, and we would put any other code between this that we'd want it to execute. So I'll go ahead and submit this. And it says that we successfully created a routine as a backdoor. So that trigger essentially could do anything that I told it to do.